Hello and welcome to 7 Ninjas Studios. This is our first live chat. Today I'm going to be painting a Deathworld Forest Barbed Venomgorse. Let's go ahead and get an image here where you can see. This is probably closer to what you're used to watching my channel, seeing me have it down here like this. So I've got an assortment of brushes here. I've got some fine detail brushes. I've got some flat tip brushes. I've got a nice little full brush here. This is really good for picking up a lot of contrast material. And I've got my contrast paints ready to go. We're going to go ahead and start this like we normally start our streams. We're going to talk about what colors we're going to be using on the stream today. Let me move this microphone just a little bit because it's kind of right in my face. We're going to need Nazdrag Yellow, Blood Angels Red, Griffhound Orange, Space Wolves Gray. And look at that, you can see my sediment. I haven't shaken my Space Wolves Gray yet. Flesh Terrors Red, Ethermatic Blue or Aethermatic Blue, depending on how you want to pronounce that. I don't know. Guys, let me know what you think. And then, of course, we're going to need our contrast medium. And look at that. I don't know if y'all can see how little contrast medium I have left. I'm running low. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. I'm going to shake my Space Wolves Gray a little bit here. There we go. That's good, because now you can't see the sediment at the bottom. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So we are going to start on the little flowery bits on top, because I'm going to be holding it by this part for the most part. And since when I'm holding it down here, if I've got this covered with paint, I got no place to hold it. But if I paint these first, then I can paint this down here while I do the other stuff. So we're going to start with a little bit of Ethermatic Blue. And if we might even want a little bit of Kellyan Green, which it looks like a blue, but it's kind of green. We used a Kellyan Green and Ethermatic Blue when we did the Barbed Venomgorse that had the flowers, if you remember that. So we might want to use a little bit of a Kellyan Green in there. I'm not sure. I've got it here just in case. We're going to go ahead and start with the Ethermatic Blue. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I've had a little bit of a quiet week. I haven't posted a video all week on the channel. I've been working 2 jobs, and it's been difficult for me to find the time. So we're just going in here with Ethermatic Blue. We're just going to fill in the teeth of this. I don't know what these things are. I've got kind of my own headcanon, and in my head, this is a toothy maw. So we're just going to get that in there. There's only 2 of these, so this goes pretty fast. Oh, there is a color I forgot. There is a color I forgot. Now that I've remembered it. Here we go. Rinse that off. Rinse cup 1, rinse cup 2. I use 2 rinse cups, by the way. This is something... I'm not sure how to get a camera to point at it, because my cameras are kind of set up where they are. I'm going to close this. I use 2 rinse cups. I use a black rinse cup for the initial rinse and a red rinse cup for the second rinse. And that second rinse is just, it's cleaner water. No, the second color we're going to want to use, little Leviathan Blue. And this Leviathan Blue is the way we did the other stars. Let's put our Leviathan here. You can just see it. If I put it there, is it on screen? A little better on screen. All right. With this Leviathan Blue, we want to get in here and get the center of this star really blue. And you can see it did kind of flow in there, but the raised edges stayed that brighter color that the Ethermatic Blue is. And we'll try and be a little more careful on this side and not get quite as much Leviathan on the inside, but it's going to get in there. and that's okay. These colors, when they touch while they're wet, they blend really well, but they have the advantage over a lot of other wash slash glaze type of products that you might use, in that they stay where you put them. They don't run. You can make them drip, obviously, but as a general rule of thumb, they don't drip. And so now here we're going into the black rinse cup. Rinse that off, wipe it off on my towel, put it in the red rinse cup, rinse it off, put it on my towel. I have a towel wrapped around my armrest of my chair, and that towel allows me to dry off my my brushes really quickly. So now we're going to grab Flesh Terror. And the screen is indicating that I may be having some technical problems, so I hope we're not having too many technical difficulties here. Hopefully this is working okay for you guys. We're coming in with our Flesh Terrors red. We're just going to really strongly apply this, especially getting to that first spike. Nice dark color. Really want it to go everywhere. Oh yeah, look at that. So you guys let me know if we're having any connection issues. This is suggesting we might be. I can't tell. And I'm just going to keep painting and hope for the best. So there's that first star. Come in. We'll get the underside in a minute. How about that? How about we do the second star? All right, I'll throw that in the rinse cup again. Black cup. Wipe that off. Red cup. Make sure that's nice and sealed, because these are GW bottles, and we all know how those are. Now, we're grabbing Gryph-hound Orange. Hear that? That was one of my cats knocking over a box. That's good. Good job, cats. Good job, cats. All right. Hopefully, it wasn't anything important, but I'm not going to interrupt the stream to go see what my cat's destroyed. So now we're going to take our Gryph-hound Orange right here. Let's put that there where you can see it. And we're literally just plopping that down now on the edges, on those final spike. Look at that. It's coming along great. There we go. A little more orange. Look at that. You see the way those colors are blending together there? I don't know how well that shows, but those colors are blending together super well. All right, and we got a lot of that Gryph-hound Orange on the piece, and it's pooling. So we're going to pull it off of this star to put on that star. And there won't be much. We'll only get a little bit. It looks like more than it really is. There we go. Get a little bit there on the paper. We can put that up there too. I love the way the contrast paints blend with each other when they're wet. How you can really achieve some effects that make you look like you're got more skill than you do, because the paint does all the work for you. And along the way, you learn those skills. You pick up those skills. You learn how to wet blend by working with paints that blend wet. So I don't mean to diminish and say if you did it, you have no skill. I mean to say you learned that skill by working on a project that was simpler, and then you got that skill, and now once you have it, once you can work with contrast paints, you can work with other paints. But the contrast paints make it easy, and they give you that confidence by making it's a material that's very easy to work with, a paint that does what you want it to do. So we're just gonna finish putting the paint on these little spikes here, and we can move on to the next part of the flower. We'll do the undersides next, while these tops have a chance to start drying, and that'll give us something to focus on. We really want these to dry so that we have something to touch. All right, so we've got all that. That's our Gryph-hound orange. Let's make sure that's closed down. Into the black rinse cup. Onto the towel. Into the red rinse cup. And onto the towel. We'll work with it to get our point back. And then we need our Flesh Terrors red just a little bit because it peeled back. And sometimes contrast does this. Peels back from where you've applied it. So we want to kind of put it back down on a few spots here. And at this point, we can help the blends along a little bit. I don't see a hard blend edge anywhere, so I'm not too concerned about that. But if we did see one, if you did see a spot, like I have a lot of paint that has pooled at this particular location. So we're going to kind of move that paint. But you see we get a natural transition in there from orange to red to blue to pale blue. And that's a cool transition. It's an alien color that we don't see very often, and I really dig that. I like these pieces. I understand problematic from a gameplay perspective because they don't do a good job of blocking line of sight. And I understand they're problematic from a gameplay perspective because they effectively block no shooting, provide no elevation, and almost no cover. They just provide an inhibitor to forward movement of vehicles, and infantry isn't inhibited. Infantry can move through all these spaces just fine and shoot through these spaces. Vehicles can't move through them, and that's all they do. They basically just say, hey, you can't move a tank through here. And as a general rule, I feel like if you're going to do that, tank traps are more sci-fi futuristic-y, but I really do love that bright spot of color we get right in the middle there. That's great. Let me slurp up some of that extra that got in there, because that's pooling a lot. Let's get our paper towel here and slurp up some of this excess so that it doesn't But these have been a lot of fun for me to work on. I've enjoyed it. It's not a piece I would normally have painted for myself. And it's nice to have something interesting on the channel. Also, there aren't a lot of videos out there on how to paint these, so that's kind of cool. Although I'm desperately afraid that the reason there's not a lot of videos on how to paint these is because nobody cares. Because they are universally the least liked terrain pieces GW has produced in the last several years. So we're just going to give that just a short second there. Give that an opportunity to dry ever so slightly. And then I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to paint the bottoms of the stars. And then we're going to start working on the tree bits. And as a matter of fact, while those are drying, before we get to the stars, we're going to go ahead and Nasdrag. I say Nasdrag. Nasdrag. We're going to Nasdrag yellow the fungal shelves. And this will be something, if you've watched my other Eldritch Ruins and Venomgorse terrain, Barbed Venomgorse, this is the third of our Barbed Venomgorse videos. There's an Eldritch Ruins video out there. And coming up later this month, I'll be doing the Grappleweed, and the Grappleweed is another segment between the Barbed Venomgorse, the Shardrack Spines, the Grappleweed, and the Eldritch Ruins. That's everything in the Eldritch Ruins, or Deathworld Forest Killzone. This is the last unique piece. I think there's one more video that hasn't gone live yet that's queued up, and you guys will have a full set. You'll be able to paint everything in your Deathworld Forest exactly the same way the ninjas paint theirs. We like to go for this I think of it as an undead tree, honestly. I don't know if you've ever read or watched not watched, it's a book, not a movie, Black Sun Rising by C.S. Friedman. They talk about the forest where the hunter lives, and in that forest are the trees are white and vampiric, and the vines drink blood, and that was kind of my inspiration for this. I feel like if it's a Deathworld forest, these are undead trees even, that eat people. This is carnivorous trees on a scale you don't normally see carnivorous trees. So they've got a little bit of fungus growing on them, and so I paint that fungus to look like there is a real-world fungus. I don't know what kind. That kind of has this yellowy-brown color to it. I want to paint these fungal shelves to look like that. So there we go. So there's our Nasdrag yellow. We're going to let that dry. Sorry, I'm looking over here to see what my, see how we're going. Making sure my stream feed is going well. I'm going to put the Nasdrag yellow up. I don't think we need more Nasdrag. I know we are going to need, let me see, Aethermatic blue. Let's put that away. We're pretty much done. We're not going to go with a Kellyan green. I thought we might use it. We're not. We won't need the Leviathan blue again, so let's put that up. See, a lot of this is the kind of stuff I edit out when I'm not doing a live video. I do the do the tidying up where I move one color here and there. I'll still need orange. I'll still need Flesh Terrors. I don't believe I'll need Nasdrag yellow, so let's put that away. I haven't even used the Blood Angels red yet, and the Space Wolves gray. I haven't used that yet either. So now we're going to take our Gryph-hound orange, and we're going to go for a slightly smaller brush. So this was the brush we used the first time. This is the brush we're going to be using now. We use that slightly smaller brush to do the thorns on all of the those thorns right there. See? Start at the tip, brush towards the back. Why? Because that deposits most of the paint where you pick up the brush, and that leaves the paint denser and thicker and darker at the root. And that lets you get a color transition and a gradient into what was otherwise a fairly straightforward piece. So there we go. Doing it this way, we're getting a nice gradient in. There we go. Put those 3 spines down there. Let's flip this bad boy. Oh, we need to get those. Four more spines over there. And again, you can see how I'm leaving the most paint there where I'm picking up the brush. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. I will say it was an interesting choice for me to decide to do the Deathworld Forest as my first live stream, because these are decidedly my least popular videos on the channel. Nobody watches the Deathworld Forest terrain videos, and so I said, what am I going to do today? I've still got one more piece of Deathworld Forest that I haven't painted yet. All of the other ones, there is one more that isn't visible on the channel, but I have completed it. So now you can see, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this right here. See how that's pooling a lot there at the bottom? We're going to take that and we're going to move it and we're going to start painting the underside with the paint that pooled from our first attempt. Right? And that way there's no paint going to waste. Paint pooling there. Now, we don't mind a little bit of pooling because that does, with the contrast paints especially, provides a contrast, where on most acrylic paints I would say, oh, you absolutely don't want pooling. On the contrast paints, pooling is good. But just the same, we're going to take advantage of that pooling to paint the underside of these. Look at that. I haven't had to go back because I was so thick and so heavy-handed on top. I have not had to go back even once to the tops or to the bottle to get more paint, and I've just painted the entire underside of that main star just from what pooled. Let's do the same thing on the secondary star. I'm kind of moving around the piece, giving it a chance for each part I did before to start to dry. Something interesting I note here is the paint feels, it feels sticky relative to how it felt before. It's not as watery now. I can definitely feel in the resistance my brush is giving me that the paint has started to dry some, and so this is going to be close to the last opportunity I would have had to mess with it while it was still wet. It'll be drying momentarily. This is a perfect time to have done this. There we go. Look at that. So now we've painted the underside of both stars. We're going to flip it back over. We've still got the pretty blue in the center. We've still got the darkness. All those colors, all those transitions, all that depth is still in there. It does show up slightly better. Black rinse cup, towel, red rinse cup. See, this is the kind of talking to myself that you miss when I edit my videos down to only about 15 minutes per video. And I have no idea, I guess maybe you can't hear me as well when I'm ducked away looking at my towel, but there it is. So we've got this. I need to give that a few minutes to dry, and that, watching paint dry, is not in fact the most compelling live stream. So do I have anything I could work on in the meantime? I don't have much. I don't have much handy. I didn't bring a lot of projects. I was kind of hoping somebody could tell me on the channel. They'd be like, hey, we'd like you to work on this, but I'm not getting much of that. And this is not compelling video. So we're going to do the thing. I'm going to grab my palette. Where is my... you know what? I set up carefully absolutely everything for my live stream, except I didn't set my palette up. So let's grab a fresh palette from over here, which isn't really a fresh palette. It's a slightly used palette, but it's fresher than my old palette. There we go. Look at that. I've set my palette up. Nobody's the wiser. Y'all all think I did it in advance. Shake up my Space Wolves Gray and my contrast medium here. Make sure that that sediment hasn't pooled. And I know from experience that I only need like 1 or 2 brushfuls of Space Wolves Gray in there. We're going to go with 2. And if it's a little dark, it's a little dark. Somebody's going to say, how on earth can 2 be a little dark? Well, look at how that thins through there. What a nice, soft blue color that makes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. So now we do have to be a little bit careful because the Nazdrag and the Gryph-hound are still slightly wet. We're going to come in over this. And we're just gonna coat these tree roots. What I love here is you can watch the pooling action as it pools itself around the parts of the object that have texture. How it really brings those roots and those vines out and makes them super visible. Now we're going to flip that over. It also really brings out the texture on the bark areas, like right here. You can see the individual scales of those barks. Scales of barks? Does bark have scales? I don't know. I'm not a Deathworld botanist. I paint minis on YouTube. So I don't know if barks have scales, but if bark does have scales, this lets you see the bark scales. See, by not having that orange dry, sometimes, see, we've kind of bled a little bit around this area right here. I don't like that. That's one of the hazards, though, of trying to get this painted all in one sitting, is I don't have a chance for these things to dry as much as I would if I was really taking my time. So I'm going to encourage you to take your time with pieces like this. Look at that. That's sloppy, my friends, and I don't like it. Some of that will get cleaned up because we're going to go over this with blood orange red. Blood orange red? Blood angels red. So some of that will get cleaned up. And overall, it's probably too little to be noticed by most people once you're sitting at the table. Alright, so we're starting to get drips everywhere. And let's just double check and make sure that we coated everything. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to dry it, rinse 2. I'm going to come in now that my brush is a little drier, and I'm going to pick up the paint off of some of these places where there, the orange and the red pooled. Now that, because it has the contrast medium in it, really does need a lot longer to dry. But we are now done with our Space Wolves glue. Space Wolf glue? Space Wolves blue, and we can put that away. We are done with our contrast medium, and we can put that away. We are done with our Gryph-hound orange and can put that away. And we are done with our Flesh Terrors red and can put that away. The only paint we still need to finish this project is the Blood Angels red. And we will be putting the Blood Angels red on all of these... are there none on this side? On all of these vine-looking textures here. Here. See this vine? Right there, these vines, these vines. We'll be putting the Blood Angels red on those vines. So we're going to give this a moment to dry. It looks like I don't currently have anybody live watching. Otherwise, I'd say let's answer some questions. I don't have a live chat going on. So, let's see. I would be asking for questions if you guys wanted to see anything. And I know I sprung this live chat on you last minute, so I do sincerely apologize in advance. I guess this is the reason. Either I'm not getting that much participation because nobody wants to see Deathworld Forest, or just because timing-wise this is a bad time, and I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and give that a second. Let's see. Let's see. Let me go ahead and take a second. Let me move this out of the way. Take a second. I'm going to move my camera here. Show you guys my my 3-brush setup. Let's see. There it is. So this is my drink. I drink out of this coffee cup. It had coffee in it, doesn't at the moment. This is my black rinse cup. I do that for my first rinse. There's my red rinse cup. I do for my second rinse. And then I have this metallic rinse cup. It is both painted in a metallic paint and marked as metallic. So if I'm working with metallics, I'm going to rinse in there, dry off on the towel, and then rinse in there. Dry off on the towel. There we go. I realize that was very vertigo-inducing because I'm holding that camera by hand. I apologize. Let's see if I've got everything set back up. There we go. Got that set back up. We're back on the work project again. There's still super, super wet. That is going to take a good half hour to dry, and I don't want to fill a half hour with blather. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. It's been great. I realize there's nobody on channel at the moment, but I had a few viewers earlier. I want to thank them. This has been 7 Ninja Studios. I've had a great time working on this. You know what? We're going to do it. I want to finish this. I want to finish this piece on stream. So I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to set that there. I'm going to take the Blood Angels red, and I'm going to be as delicate as I can. And I know that it's going to be tricky, and it's going to want to bleed, but we're going to do it. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Let's get that. We're just doing these little blood red vines now. I like to think that these are very vampiric plants, that they are thriving on the battlefields of the 41st millennium, or if you're playing Age of Sigmar, that they're thriving on the battlefields of the realms, and that they are drinking... They're getting their nutrients from the blood in the soil, from the wars, from the death, from all the soldiers that have died over the many, many wars between, the many, many factions, Sigmar and Gash, or the Oruk, or the Ogryn, or you name it. I don't know. If you're in 40k, the Space Marines and the Eldar and the Orcs and the Tau and the Necrons, not so much the Necrons because they don't have blood, have been killing each other for centuries, and in the course of killing each other have polluted the soils of so many worlds with blood that these Deathworld forest trees have evolved